Good day, everyone. So now we are going to talk about the documentary outline about the legal basis of education in the Philippines from then to now. This documentary traces the legal evolution of Philippine education laws from the American colonial era to the modern reforms that guide the systems today. We all know that education has long been a cornerstone of Filipino society. But what are the legal foundations that ensure every Filipino child receives education? So now, let's talk about the first part of our documentary outline. First one is the early foundations, which is the pre-independence to American period. Let's now start with the Spanish era. The Spanish colonial government introduced formal education, but it was mainly religious and elitist. The 1863 Royal Decree on Education mandated the establishment of primary school in all provinces, though education was limited to certain classes. And secondly, the American colonial era. During this era, the education system underwent radical change. The establishment of the public school and the creation of the Department of Public Instruction in 1901 laid the groundwork for modern education. An additional act during this era is the Act No. 74. It created the Bureau of Education, and the 1916 Jones Law emphasized the importance of education for Filipino independence. So now let's proceed to the second part of our presentation. So this presentation is all about the post-independence era during the 1940s to 1970s. The 1947 Philippine Constitution, or the Constitution, provided for the establishment of a free public education system. However, education was still highly influenced by social class, and the lack of sufficient infrastructure limited access to quality education. And secondly, the 1973 Constitution, or the martial law era. The 1970 Constitution strengthened the right to education, but the nationalization of school and the imposition of martial law led to political influence over educational policies. And now for the third part of the outline is the 1987 Constitution and major reforms. And now we're going to talk about the 1987 Philippine Constitution. The Constitution explicitly mandates the state to provide pre-public education at the elementary and secondary levels. It also emphasized the importance of quality education for national development. And secondly, the Education Act of 1982. This act provided a framework for the establishment and operation of both public and private educational institutions. It sought to standardize the educational system, focusing on academic freedom and institutional and autonomy. And now let's proceed to the era during the 2000s. So there were a Public Act number 9155, the Governance of Basic Education Act. This law reorganized the Department of Education, or DepEd, and decentralized the governance of basic education to local school boards, giving more autonomy to schools. And secondly, the K-12 Law, Republic Act number 10533. During the 2013, this landmark legislation introduced the K-12 system, expanding the basic education cycle from 10 years to 12 years, following international education standards. This aimed to prepare Filipino students for the global workforce. And also, this K-12 edition of kindergarten as the entry point for education, and the senior high school program, which is the grades 11 and 12 for specialization in various tracks. Example for this is academic or the technical vocational and sports. And now for the current developments and new laws. The Republic Act number 10931 during the 2017, the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act, provides free tuition and other school fees in state universities and colleges, as well as in local universities and colleges. It is part of efforts to make education more accessible, especially for marginalized sectors. Secondly, DepEd Order Number 21 Series 2019 Guidelines on the Implementation of the K-12 Basic Education Program. This DepEd Order outlines the comprehensive strategies for the effective implementation of the K-12 curriculum, ensuring that students are well prepared for both higher education and the workforce. And lastly, the future of education in the Philippines. First one on this slide is the recent developments in technology and distant learning. The COVID-19 pandemic pushed the Philippine education system to rapidly adopt online and modular learning. DepEd's guideline on the use of learning technologies in the curriculum reflects a significant shift towards digital education. And the proposed legislation, House Bill number 1031, or the Free Internet Access in Schools Act. This bill, if passed, would ensure free Wi-Fi access in all public schools nationwide, addressing one of the major challenges to the current system of online learning. As the legal foundations of education in the Philippines evolve over time, adapting to the changing needs of society, from the first laws enacted during the Spanish and American periods to the more recent reforms like K-12, the Philippine education system continues to adapt to challenges of the 21st century. But the work is far from over. As we move forward, education remains the key to unlocking the future potential of every Filipino. And that is all for the documentary outline of the legal basis of education in the Philippines. Thank you.